Welcome to Generator, your view into the ever-evolving and vibrant art scene in Ireland today. On this week's show, we feature contemporary Irish ceramicist Ruth Power, the second of the 6 artists from the Generator Group exhibition. We visit In-Spire Galerie on Lower Gardiner Street to talk to Sophia and Pavel about the rebranding of the gallery and surviving as a creative space through the recession. First up, we talked to Greg O'Brien about his illustration, his blog Shark at Heart, and the interactive graphic novel Little Details, which he is currently collaborating on.
So, my name is Greg O'Brien, and I am many things for a long time, I suppose. I make music and I do illustration, I work in computer games, and I make apps. I'm no one thing wholly, I just like making things. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. I suppose for years I was working, making music, my own bands, recording albums, stuff like that. Then more recently I started kind of drawing a bit more and doing a bit of animation and kind of working on computer game stuff. So now I just do it all. A long time ago, I made a comic called Ghost of a Date. That was probably the first thing you ever saw by me. I've never been a particularly amazing artist in terms of drawing or anything like that. I just wanted to do something like that. And there was plenty of things out in the world that I'd seen that I really liked, and I thought, well, I could do something like that. So there's like a comic called King Cat from the States that I really liked, and there's another one called Snake Pit. And these were comics that I just thought were really interesting, and it was a level I knew I could draw at, and it was more about kind of what was being said in those things, the dialogue, more than necessarily being an amazing artist. I mean, there was plenty of amazing graphic novels or books that I'd seen where the art was technically amazing, but, you know, left me feeling cold when I read it or whatever. So I was always kind of more interested in the heart of a thing rather than the technical end of it, I suppose. I hadn't illustrated for years, and I decided I'd start making Shark at Heart, which would be a way to start illustrating again. It would also be a way to start using computers to do it. I'd never tried to use a computer in terms of making art. I always kind of thought, no, you know, it needs to be hands-on. I was very much about DIY stuff rather than computers. But when I started playing with the computer stuff, I saw how much you could do and how much fun you could have with it. And the process, although different, was kind of equally valid. And, you know, you could take a lot of real world stuff like textures and stuff like that and bring them to the computer. So I could still be out taking photographs or finding material and bringing them to the computer and using them again. So, you know, it was just a new way of doing it rather than anything. So so Shark at Heart was my way to get back into making illustration. As things have moved on, I guess I was getting a little bit older and thinking, how do I be creative and kind of do this for my life? Like, how do I kind of maintain my creativity as a way of kind of living, I suppose, or a means of living? So I decided that I'd go back to college for a year and just learn about the technology end of things. If I could make applications or find a way to kind of I guess, make a living at being creative. So that's kind of brought me to a place now where I'm interested in making kind of apps, and again, it's much easier to distribute stuff nowadays than it was. I suppose when I was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was kind of, it was hard. I suppose it was hard to, you didn't know who to go to or how to distribute it. And nowadays it's much easier for a person to go online and set up a website and show their art off there, or to create an application and you can get it to people right across the world. Much easier. Whereas back in the day, you really had to know the people, or you have some way of getting in touch with the people making that kind of artwork. So going forward, I think that's what I'd like to do. Maybe you know, build apps and games that kind of resonate with what I'm doing. I suppose if you look at kind of even the games industry now, there's a lot more kind of independent kind of game makers out there. People doing kind of what we were doing with bands years back, making their own things, and they don't want to know about big companies. They kind of want to make the artwork that's theirs and the game that's theirs, and distribute to people they know that will be interested in it. And that's been quite successful for a lot of game makers. So I think with the technology available to people, and I suppose the price of technology is probably a lot cheaper now than it would have been 10 years ago.
There's nothing that we can do now.
About a year ago, I decided to make a graphic novel, and the graphic novel was a bit of old meets new. As a part of a college course I was doing, myself and a friend decided we'd like to make a graphic novel for the iPad. So I had an experience of making comics in the past, but never making anything like this, never for new technology. So a friend of mine called Aurora said, will we try to do this? We try to make it. We have no programming skills, but I had a good knowledge of writing a comic and storyboarding it, and Aurora is a very good illustrator as well. And I had the sound end, so the coding was the only thing that was going to stand in our way. But we'd both kind of, we'd both spent a bit of time figuring out the coding stuff. So we started making a comic called Little Details for the iPad. I suppose the story, what people kind of say that have seen it so far, it's a bit like maybe Amelie or something like that. It's a story about memory and about a girl kind of searching through memories. So the plan is that we're going to release that through the App Store ourselves later on this year. Again, just, you know, our story and kind of told our way, and kind of done in a way that we think is interesting and kind of really suits our mood. Like everything we've done in it really was, is this what we want? Is this how we want it to be? And we've been very kind of careful about that as we're making it, you know, that we're making something that we think is what we want to see in the world. And we, you know, we've tested it with people as well, and we've kind of got reactions, but we've always kind of stayed very true to what we wanted to do with it. So that will come out later this year.
My name is Sofia Monika Swatek, and I'm the owner of In-Spire Galerie. I'm also responsible, I'm an art curator here, and I'm also responsible for art classes, so I'm the teacher as well.
I'm Pavel, I'm the manager of this place. I'm also responsible for the basement. We have the music studio going down there. I'm also responsible for the events in the gallery and helping Sofia.
For 4 years we've been called Mad Art Gallery, and our main goal was to support young artists, fresh artists, people who want to be seen very often for the first time in an Irish art scene. But now with a new brand we have a little bit different goals, and we would like to connect with galleries abroad. We would like to connect with international artists. We would like to bring some people from abroad and of course send some Irish art abroad. So now we're kind of focused on getting connections with London galleries, New York galleries, in general from an art business abroad. Just started when actually we opened an art studio. Recession just started, but we didn't feel it at the beginning. Then when we opened, after 1 year, when we opened an art gallery, now I can say that actually I see the difference now after a couple of years. At the beginning, we were able to sell a few works at the opening, no problem. There was loads of customers coming, loads of viewers, many people interested in exhibiting and paying for rent, for rent and promotion in our gallery. At the moment, I have to say that there is less. I would say the amount of people coming is the same, but there is much less work sold during openings. So I can see that now it's a little bit. It's for example 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and before it was 8, 9. So I see the difference that people, they don't really want to spend money for art now because maybe it's something what's not necessary for them, and they're more careful with that. So I can see the difference. So
well, like in Poland at the moment, we're developing. Like Irish market is well developed. So right now it's a recession in here. In Poland there is still progression in this market. There's an easy way to get through in Poland. Not very easy, but yeah, definitely. Because in here, everything went back big time. In Poland, that didn't happen. So at the moment, I'd say it's the same sort of a business in here and in Poland, the art world. Like.
But I mean about like kind of, I'm talking about maybe the business point of view of you know, setting up the place like this. I think that, you know, that's kind of easier here than in Poland because all that paperwork you have to do and money you have to put into business for sure, you know. But definitely the art scene in Poland is very well developed, and people, they can get really good education there. Academy of Fine Arts, it's, you know, five years of really how to say it, you know, it's really difficult to get there and to finish it, you know. Exams are very difficult, so definitely education in field area, I have, that's my feeling is I don't want to say anything about Thailand, but you know, it's maybe a little bit more developed. That's my impression, you know. So that was a monochrome exhibition, and it was an exhibition, actually very interesting show, because it was organized by students from St. Kevin's College, that's a photography college. And we're always very happy to organize group shows, because then the audience is really big. But there is also, like, you could see nice selection of different type of works, and I have an impression that group exhibitions are always very interesting because of the selection of works. So we've been very happy, and that was the second show organized in our gallery by St. Kevin's College students. So hopefully they'll come back next year. So in May we're gonna have very special exhibition for all of us, all people cooperating with In-Spire Galerie, because it's gonna be an official opening of our gallery. I mean, of a new brand. Basically, the new brand is only for a previous couple months. So it's a very important day for us. That's gonna be an exhibition of my works, but there's gonna be maybe 3-4 paintings, and the other artist is gonna be Katrina Rupit. She's a street artist. She's very, very talented person. And her paintings are on wood, on carpet, so it's very unusual technique. The exhibition will be opened by the ambassador of Polish, the Polish ambassador, and also Mexican ambassador. So it's a very important day for all of us.
So my work explores the areas of sexual repression, female objectification, censorship and the contradictions of censorship, and contemporary pornography. Hi, my name's Ruth Power and I graduated from NCAD with a degree in ceramics in 2011. And what my degree show mainly consisted of was a lot of tentacles. So how I came to this was I was doing some research from a past project involving gnarly tree branches and stuff. So to do some visual research for that, I typed tentacle into Google search images and the safe search was off, and about 90% of the images that came up were of Japanese tentacle rape pornography. So I was really shocked by this and decided to research this further. And what I found was that in the 1980s, a Japanese animator called Maeda wanted to make an erotic anime, but at the time it was illegal to show an erect penis. So animators were always trying to find a way to get around this law. So what Maeda did was he looked back to 19th century woodblock prints from the Edo period in Japan, and I think the most famous example of this would be The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife by Hokusai, which depicts a Japanese woman and an octopus engaging in oral sex, but it's mutually beneficial and it's actually quite beautiful. So he took inspiration from this. So instead of depicting a penis, he depicted brutal tentacles raping girls. And this was perfectly legal. So the contradiction of censorship fascinated me. The restrictions on the latter substantially caused the former, which resulted in this explosive, massive genre of tentacle rape pornography. So for these pieces, I took casts of my own body parts because this is a very, very personal issue to me. And I rolled out really, really thin slabs of porcelain paper clay, and pressed it into the moulds. And then I hand built the tentacles over it. So each sucker was placed on individually on each frill. And then I placed some tentacles behind it as well to create the silhouettes. And I placed them into light boxes and made an installation. Well, a lot of my inspiration comes from social issues, like feminist issues or animal rights issues or human rights issues in general. So it's usually an issue I might read about it, or I might come across it, and then I have an idea then, and that gives me the idea to do it. And these tentacles, for an example, they're part of an installation that I did in 2010, and it was just a wall full of tentacles, writhing tentacles. So when you walk past it, it's really intrusive, especially because I put them at a certain level to make it more intrusive. So that was based on the Japanese tentacle pornography as well. And they were really popular. So I just kept making them. So I'm doing an installation as well for the Botanic Gardens in September, which is the Sculpture in Context exhibition. And it's one of my favourite exhibitions of the whole year. It's amazing. And there's loads of outdoor sculpture and indoor sculpture as well. So I'll be exhibiting 2 pieces there. And one of the installations I'll be doing is just behind me here. So it's kind of based on the tentacle idea as well. It's loads of tendrils. So I think I might make about 30 or 40 of those. So loads and loads of tendrils in context outside, so amongst the shrubbery. So that should be interesting. And I'm focusing as well on some commercial work as well. So these tentacles, I'd sell them individually as well. So you can have part of the installation. So some other work I'm in the middle of creating at the moment is some more kind of sea-themed work. It's casts of Sandywayne Strand. So I went to the beach and I took a plaster cast of the ripples when the tide goes out, and it was based on a quote by James Joyce. And what I wanted to do with these pieces was basically, instead of creating just another pictorial narrative of the sea, I wanted to create an actual tactile experience. So I wanted to capture the tactile feeling of walking down the beach barefoot, which you can get with the ripples. And then I placed recycled glass and glaze in between, and it melts in the kiln in the exact same way as water does as it moves through the ripples. So these are wall pieces. They can be used as platters as well. Yeah, so ceramics to me it's like a science, it's like alchemy. So it's really interesting. The possibilities are endless, and there's always ways to figure out new methods to doing things that haven't been done before. But at the same time, it can absolutely break your heart. So you could think that you have an amazing glaze recipe or you've discovered something new, and then you put it in the kiln, and then you come back 2 days later and you're really excited and you open it up and there's just like a big brown blob in the kiln. So it can really surprise you, or it can absolutely break your heart. And I think, interestingly, as a person, it makes you a lot more patient and a lot more able to take disappointment as well. So in 2010, I started exhibiting around Ireland, And in 2011, that's when I started to enter awards and competitions and stuff. And in April 2011, I won a Future Makers Award from the Crafts Council of Ireland. So that kind of kick-started everything a little bit for me. And also in 2011, I put in an installation. It was a few of these guys, coming out of the pond at the Botanic Gardens in Glasnevin, and I was really surprised. I didn't expect it, but they won an award as well for a voucher from Cast Limited to do a bronze sculpture. So I haven't actually used that yet, but I have an idea for it. So it's a substantial amount to make a big bronze sculpture, which I'd never have the opportunity to do because it's such an expensive thing. So I'm looking forward to using that. And this year I was nominated for the Irish Ceramic Awards. So I'm currently exhibiting in Cork in the Mill Cove Gallery at the moment for that show. And at the beginning of last year I started exhibiting in New York. So that was amazing, and there was a different reception to my work there, which I really, really liked, because I think, especially for ceramics in Ireland, it's still quite old-fashioned. It's still quite behind. It hasn't really shed away from that old-fashioned image. So my work was received a lot better in New York, I think. So I plan to exhibit there a lot more in the future. And next year there'll be an exhibition called What's Up? Ceramics and Light, so it's a good name, in Taiwan and Paris and New York as well. So that will be an exhibition mainly featuring ceramic artists that use light. So some of my degree show work will be featured in that, with the translucent porcelain. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully I'll get to go.